You're live.
So here she is. We're starting our January 28th meeting. It feels like a long time since we've been together. We have a number of just updates, announcements, and then some end of the year things, annual reports to look at, election of officers, and something we'll ask Kate to talk about, setting our terms, because we all came on at the same time approximately, so how we think about terms. And then doing a little goal setting for the coming year. If we have time, of course, one of our goals is to deal with the high hands this year. So Beth, Ernie, and I had all collected some photos of different approaches to garages for public art that could get us started thinking about how we might want to balance this. And Terrence is here to give a request to us. So we'll bring him up after we do some updates. So first, a vote to accept the December 17th.
So moved.
Lenny?
Second.
Second. And Nancy, I think you're taking minutes.
Yep. I got it.
All in favor?
I got it.
It's not on the agenda, but I hope you all got the copy of the speech, Vito's speech. And if you've signed up for his little journal on AI, it's quite prolific and I think very interesting. It gives us a taste. It's really helped me to understand what the range might be of how artists are using AI and what we might be thinking about for a presentation. So I'll start with some unfortunate news, and that's Ellen has said to the mayor that she needs to resign from our committee. And I'll just read you what she said to the mayor. At this time, personal circumstances are challenging my ability to consistently participate in the work of the committee. It's been an honor to serve on the Public Art Review Committee, and I'm proud of the work that its members and I have accomplished. Thank you for your confidence you placed in me and your continuing support of arts in our community. So that will, I assume, go to the next meeting. And, Kate, you'll be there to express our thanks to Ellen and regret that we won't have her with us, but that encourage her to maybe consider rejoining at some point. So we have 2 vacancies. We have one person who has applied, and I think, Kate, will that be going soon, do you think?
I hope it's going Monday, but I'm not sure if
Okay.
it made the agenda or not. So I did inform them to move forward, but that depends on whether or not the mayor was able to review
Sure.
it.
So encourage people that you know or you think might be good members. And I know there's been so many needs for appointments and reappointments of committees at the beginning, but I think you'll probably be through that by the next meeting. So hopefully this could move along fairly fast.
I'm thinking of some people I know through the arts community that are, long time artists, and it might be nice to have.
Yes.
Not to be gender biased, but since we are all female, it might be nice to have, a guy or just someone from a different perspective,
sure.
somebody young.
True.
So I was going to ask you, I was thinking before I came here, is it okay if we reach out to people and
Of
tell them
course.
to
And
sign up?
And the on the website under the city clerk is where the forms are, the applications. But also, I know people will be interested in how much time does it take, when do they meet, what's it like? So yes, feel free to do that.
I wanted to highlight for everyone what the ordinance says we're looking for and skill sets, because we're missing some of these, and I think that's important to remember. It said demonstrated experience in the fine arts, architecture, art criticism, engineering or structural analysis, art history, graphic arts, interior design, landscape architecture, town planning, or other art and design related fields. or someone who's demonstrated strong interest in the visual arts and civic improvement. So I mean, there's kind of a range, but we did lose an architect. So we're
Right.
down an
I was thinking of
architect.
that this morning.
And so I was trying to think of who I knew that maybe could fill a hole that the committee doesn't have.
And just one thing to remember, person has to be a Portsmouth resident, because a
Does or
Portsmouth
does not?
does have to be a
That was
Portsmouth
one of my
resident,
other questions.
given the nature of the way this committee was set up,
Okay.
which is limiting often of the people we think about. Okay. Beth's public art inventory is posted, and Stephanie Secord did make the webpage updates. And so it's much easier now if you go to the webpage to see the inventory. The inventory is right on the side. And then Stephanie also organized all of our meeting minutes, and I put the link in the agenda. So if you ever want to go back and take a look at the whole history, it's all there.
Laughing because right before I came here in a frantic hurry of getting my papers together, I went, oh, they're all out of order. And I was trying to put all the months and years in order. My dog ate a couple, literally.
We'll keep your dog away from the
Yeah.
computer. But, the mural, the H1 mural has been moved to the community campus. Sarah Haskell, the artist, is very happy about that. She's very happy that more people will see it. And I haven't seen it yet, but Stephanie said it looks great in its new place. And Stephanie has also worked with Public Works on a sign using our new format and getting some information on that sign. That isn't ready yet. As soon as it's ready, we'll do a little ceremony rededication and invite the different folks who use the community campus to be present and hear a little bit about the artwork. Kate, I know you presented the temporary installation.
Yes, and it was accepted. So I assume now we can move forward.
Okay, so I think we probably should notify, or has that already happened?
I don't know. Sean, do you know if anybody's notified?
I
See, or,
don't think so.
Okay.
I would imagine it would come back here.
Okay,
Yeah.
so do you want to follow, because you were the ones who.
Sorry, I was writing.
managed all
It
that,
was
so-
approved.
it was approved
Okay.
at the last council meeting, so last week. And so I don't know that anyone's informed New Hampshire outright that it was approved.
Okay, we should, we'll let them. Maura and Lenny, I know Ellen was,
Right, and we
Going to
never got
spearhead
around
that.
to meeting.
But-
There were just too many illnesses and
how do you, the two of you are certainly well positioned to be able to take on the role. Okay, good. And also remind you that you can add people not on this committee to a task force.
Mandela from New Hampshire Art Association was, had been willing to be a member.
it's just kind of lingered for the past.
Yeah, she could only meet on Mondays or Tuesdays, but in the meantime, there's been a situation has arisen at NHAA that sad situation that we hope gets better, but so I will reach out to her and see what her time is now.
But it's in your hands, so.
It's in our hands.
All right.
All right,
We'll talk.
we'll talk.
Ernie, why don't you give us all the, and while Ernie is doing that, maybe Sean, you would tee up the photos of the maquette. We have new photos.
So, Blanco Gateway Park, NEBI update, we've raised 64,000. And I passed around, I hope everybody got it, but I had more, if somebody, the list, the sponsor opportunities, what you get for, pass that down to Jen. Yes, you know, we wanted to really distinguish those. If anybody has any feedback, let us know. Last meeting, we found out that we had gotten a $10,000 grant from the Sawtell Foundation, which was wonderful. And they had supported Endeavor with a $25,000 donation. And I learned a couple of weeks ago that Carol Sawtell, who manages the foundation, well, is the family contact, had passed away, which, I just wanted to mention that because she was really a wonderful person. I got to know her with Endeavor, and she just was so supportive of, the maritime theme and public art, and it's a real loss. She had been struggling with an illness. I guess he didn't say anything to anybody, didn't want anybody to know. So she's just been so supportive, and I'll really miss her because she was a great person. So we're working on, I think I mentioned last meeting that he is going to cast this directly from the maquette, Anthony Alamonte, using 3D, 3D technology. So we're redoing the timeline and the budget, and he's supposed to get that back. He's just waiting for a few costs, and he's going to get that back to us. But he's really making a lot of progress, and we'll show you those photos in a minute, so you can see. It's pretty cool.
Sean, I think Robin's gonna look to join via Zoom.
She's joined. I didn't see the ability to share my screen. That was my concern.
So you can see the progress from last time.
So that'll be, because last time we saw, it almost looked like an insect with the wires, and now it's really getting near to completion. I mean, look at that eagle.
Yeah, I think the eagle.
It's just beautiful.
So you also get a little bit of a sense of scale there when you see the radiator. And remember, this is about 3 feet high.
It's well, and
Yeah.
the final will be 9 feet high.
Yeah.
That's actually, I think he's doing it half. It's going to be about 4.5 feet high. He was going to do it 3, and the maquette is going to be 4.5. So cool. Yeah.
So the vessel is a water vessel, right? So will it be hollowed out? Because it looks like it's filled.
Well, he did mention the potential that it could be a fountain. I don't think that's been determined
I
yet.
don't think so.
And that,
But even
That
if it's
would be-
not a fountain, I beg your pardon.
yeah, even if it's not a fountain, it could be filled.
Then it would be.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah, good question.
Good question, and I can ask them.
I mean, he's the sculptor, he knows, maybe if it's empty, it'd be susceptible to, I don't know, snow or water
Yeah.
getting in there and cracking out.
So
Because it's sort of tipped up.
So
I'll ask about
we're
that.
close.
Yeah, that's so cool.
And we believe we have more than enough money for the second phase.
Do you want to talk about the bench? Or?
Yes. So we are closer on the bench as well. We're ready, legal is ready to do contracts on both of these, the next phase for this and the bench. And even though we haven't started fundraising for the bench, Bob Thorson has agreed to both give 15,000 toward the 20,000, which is the cost, and also make up last dollar. So now what that doesn't include, which would be the cost we would raise, are installation, preparation and installation. But we're ready in both of those cases. As soon as we hear from the artists, we have to get scopes of work from the artists and payment schedules. And then we're ready to do contracts, and legal department is up to date on all of that. So I think we'll be in good shape to think next fall that both of these will be.
So both of us, each of us have questions about the dress that Nebby is wearing. I mean, and Lenny, I mean, I don't want to speak for you, but she said, is this a tradition, you know?
Well, it's absolutely stunningly beautiful, and having gone to art school and drawn from the nude all my life, I wouldn't care if she was naked, but I know that Anthony consulted with indigenous authorities
Yes.
or members of indigenous group. Is that an indigenous dress? Because it looks very modern.
This look modern.
And I just wondered if there would be something afterwards where someone would say, hey, that doesn't look indigenous, that looks,
Of course, remember, she's a mythological figure.
okay. I mean, it's gorgeous.
It is, but I have to say that, you know, I mean, I'm known for having an inner prude, contrary to what one might think.
Really?
Yeah, sort of. But, you know, I don't know about like a naked, there's such a very, I mean, the body is beautifully done. And I love the fact that she's muscular and, you know, that's good. But I think, I don't know, I'm not 100% comfortable with such a very nude, naked female person standing as a gateway to Portsmouth.
I mean, I don't think she looks naked. I just think,
Yeah.
I just wondered if the dress was indigenously appropriate for
Yeah.
that era.
Well, that's a good way of phrasing it.
Yeah.
Mine is much more of a gut instinct than is reasonable.
I mean, because many
fact.
of the indigenous peoples were not clothed the way we clothe at a different comfort zone.
So he did work with the Pouliot's on the design, and then he wanted to show them the maquette, make sure everything was you know, okay as far as, you know, being authentic. I have to say, like, I'm a little bit of an rude or whatever. Because I did, and then I showed it to people and they didn't seem, you know, concerned about it, so I kind of let that, but
Told her
I think it's a
to-
good, I think it's
It's a
a
good
good
question.
question. Yeah.
Maybe we can ask him to
Tone it
talk
down.
about what the Puyos. Oh, I would go first with what have the Puyos said about this?
It's not that I can see, the back, look at the backbone and the muscles, it's just stunning the way he carved her body. So it's not seeing the body that bothers me. I just wonder if after the fact, if it was cast, then he would say, oh, then we'd get blowback saying, well, wait a minute, it's not an indigenous costume.
Yeah.
It's-
Well, let's ask that question for the
I
Puyos.
just-
And I mean,
I seem to remember, and maybe he's not done, because I seem to remember she had more of a shift dress, and I think I even remembered like a necklace
Well, it
in the
looked to me more
drawing,
like a deerskin.
Yeah.
something like
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah.
it-
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
so
just
let's,
not done.
but let's find that out. I think that's good.
Yeah, because it's interesting, when he first showed it to us, she wasn't wearing the dress.
no,
Mhm.
And I wanted to make sure she was gonna have a dress. So that could be it. He could be building it out, but really good questions.
Yeah.
And you know, maybe I could even have Anthony come to a meeting, like our next meeting.
Or at least maybe zoom in.
Zoom in,
I
yeah.
see where he,
Zoom in.
what he you know, I like the, you know, I think the muscularity of the figure is really a good way of representing the
strength.
goddess, and it's well done, but I just think, you know,
Looks kind of like
gateway
an
to what-
evening gown. You know?
Well, I mean, I hear your point, and I think your point is, as I said, more logical than mine, but I think mine is still a point that other people might
Well, We know the
find
Puyos
resonance elsewhere.
waited on the jar. And
Right.
because the jar wasn't quite appropriate, and so that's the revised jar. So, yeah, let's.
I love
find
the
out.
turtle. I mean, the way she's
Turtle is
poised on it.
Amazing.
Very good question.
I say, I looked up Nebby because I was gonna talk about it at the tourism summit that got canceled, saying, you know, there's more to come. And there was a short film done, but it's very similar with the turtle and as the pretty cool. Video. I'm happy to share
Yeah, share that with us.
with you all if you'd like, but
That would be
just to
wonderful.
say that it's she's a documented mythical figure, right? So
Sure.
we ought to be able to get to the authentic.
Yeah, I
right?
mean, we don't
Yeah.
want to be prudy New Englander or Puritan saying that we can't have, you know, any depiction of the human body. The human body is beautiful. I mean, everybody, when you go visit Italy, everybody goes sees David and takes all the pictures of David in all his glory. He's a magnificent depiction of a human body that's, you know,
But I actually,
clothed. But so I don't care about that. I just want the native indigenous peoples to be satisfied that we present her in a way that's respectful to them.
exactly.
And I do think that the female body naked signifies in a way very different from a sculpture of a heroic male nude. I mean, it has a totally different.
How is it different?
Can we just say that it's different? And I believe that it's different. I mean, it's not only my own belief, but if you just consider the tradition of the male nude from ancient Greeks and the tradition of the female nude, they really have they are positioned differently in history at any number of different periods, throughout any number of different periods. And our period is very influenced by, the period of the Renaissance
Sure.
where female figures kind of were displayed. Now she's muscular, which makes her she's not a passive figure,
Right.
but nonetheless, it has a different balance in my view. But
So
not just my view.
We're gonna trust the two of you to do the exhibits in the lobby. Two more brief things. Flash vote. We should see that. This month they did come back. They did come back with some changes. I didn't realize that the city just can't do whatever it wants with the flash vote. The flash vote people make some adjustments. And one thing is, unfortunately, there can be no links. So I put in a sentence to see if they would be willing to do it that says people should look at the inventory on our website. I think it's key that we have that. And then in place of one of our questions, they did just an open-ended, what do you think about public art? And we don't want to do that. And so Monty's gone back to them because we had two other good questions that were multiple choice. So, but that should happen soon. And then just to let you know that the Ona Judge mural is on good path to be dedicated and put up in about the third week in May, which is terrific, especially since on the national news, as you probably heard, the Ona Judge panels have been taken down from the national.
In Philadelphia.
Philadelphia, the president's house.
So we will. Terrence, come up and tell us about the high winds that are wreaking havoc with the.
Hey, everybody, Terrence Parker here. I don't know whether you recall on when the codfish opened, Peter Rice and I had a conversation about how this is going to be maintained. And I said, well, I'm going to check it all the time. And well, I mean, there was no plan. I mean, and I don't know if you know that site, but it's extremely windy. It's more windy than I had anticipated. And so the concept of the fish was to have them free floating as much as possible because I was interested in the shadows they were casting on the ground on the blue lights that are above them. And so in the beginning, they were great, right? So as I observed the site repeatedly, I started to rein in the fish. I started to cable them together. First of all, I shortened the cables so they would move less. And then I eventually had horizontal cables so they would move less. And I had specified stainless steel cables that had a 472-pound test. Now, the largest fish is 35 pounds, and there's only 4 of those. The smallest fish is 7 pounds, and then there's a 17-pounder, and then the 35-pound. So the 472-pound test was like, wow, that's plenty strong enough, right? But it's proven not to be strong enough because The cables go through an eye hook that's been epoxied into the fish, so the cable goes through like that, and the fish moves around like that, and the cable moves around like that, and they're tied horizontally and they're tied vertically. And as the cables, as I continually observe it, I have purchased various pieces of hardware, most recently something's called a thimble, which is the cable runs through this nice little thimble, so there's no friction where the cable meets the eye hook. And that works out really well, except that I had a fish break. No, I had a cable break, not a fish break. I had a cable break sometime after Christmas, and it broke in the middle,
Oh, wow.
not where I saw the friction.
Wow.
Because the friction I could handle with the thimbles, but the cable broke in the middle, which then I said, Peter, and I talked to Peter because we're working on another project together. And he said, well, you know, the park people have a budget, maintenance budget. So I said, okay, and so that's what this is.
Yes.
So I have outlined what I anticipate the budgetary cost to be and basically I'm the maintenance guy out there, so I go out there all the time. But you can see in this budget, there's, instead of the cables, I now am proposing to have solid aluminum rods. So there's no, and they'll be bent around the eye hook at the top and at the bottom. So, and the only cables will be used to pin them horizontally to the piers of the pavilion, which would still allow them to move, but not allow them to move so freely as to create friction and tension that is more than 472-pound test.
Have the fish been damaged at all?
Minimally.
Okay.
So I have two, I took down two recently because I do not want the cables to break and have fish fall.
Oh, yeah.
So I've taken two down recently. So, I mean, it's an unknown site, and they're designed to be kinetic sculptures, so this is kind of a pullback to make them be more durable, so I don't have to be the one maintaining them
Right.
forever, but I'm happy to do it. So this is my budget for me and my buddy, Bruce Tetro, who's a friend of mine, who's also a great watercolorist and drawer. So he's been super generous to go out there all the time with me. So there's scaffolding, there's the labor, there's the aluminum rods, some more stainless steel rope because I have to take everything down and then put it back up.
Oh, I see.
So
Okay.
the rope is it's called wire rope. It's really stainless steel cable. And it's coated with plastic, but that plastic wears out. And then there's gonna be some repairs too, and I'm gonna repaint them and stuff.
So Terrence has given us a budget approximately 2,700, and we would pay for it out of our CIP funds. And do you feel this is a realistic budget, or?
Oh, yeah, it's a very cared. I try to be as frugal as possible because that's the way I operate, but yeah, it's good. I don't think it'll be more than that.
And this will solve the.
I believe it will solve the problem.
Because it's an amazing.
Well, because I've
Yeah.
been observing this for 15 months now.
Yeah.
So and it isn't just infrequent observations.
Well, as you know, it's become just a beloved piece by so many people.
Yeah, it's pretty nice. I love seeing it.
Yeah.
Somebody told me they drive by it on their way to work and on their way home from work on the highway every day, and it makes them happy.
Oh, good. Yeah, because when I'm up on a ladder, so the scaffolding is because I don't have a 12-foot. I always have to borrow a 12-foot ladder because it's way up.
Yeah.
So I always I drive to a friend's house, pick up the ladder. There's a lot of weird moving parts.
Yeah.
Parts, right? But everybody who walks underneath it when I'm up there says, "I love this thing." Yes, all right.
And so
Like,
many
good
people have
questions.
walked out there too. Excuse me.
2 quick questions. One, did you put anything in there for a contingency just in case?
Good point.
No,
Well, I think what we could
didn't.
do.
We could probably
we
add,
Authorize, wait, I mean, what we would
Yeah.
do is authorize probably up to 3,000, and then you will just bill an invoice.
oh, yeah, okay,
Right.
that's,
that
thank you
make
for
sense?
mentioning that.
that
I
makes
didn't-
sense, just because you never know. And the
Yeah, you
other,
never know, right?
and the other question is, this has been one heck of a winter. When is this gonna be something?
Oh, I don't, I went up there in the snow to take a fish down because I saw it was dangling.
Hmm.
So it was 10 degrees. I don't plan to do this until it gets warm because the epoxy, if I use epoxy, which I plan, it's at some point I get, epoxy's great, but so the fish are, they're laminated, they're screwed, they're epoxied. They're painted, there's 3 coats of boat enamel, two layers of primer and 3 layers of epoxy in there. So it's, the epoxy is just something I do, but it has to be warm.
Yeah.
So it's probably not before the middle of April. It's certainly during the month of May. 'Cause it has to be over 50, 60 degrees.
Has to be painting weather.
In June.
Painting weather, exactly. So while I'm up there, I'll just kind of if there's any cracks in the paint or whatever, I'll take care of that.
Any
So
other questions?
Do we need a motion to release the
do.
funds?
Motion to release the funds.
Second.
Okay, second by John, all in favor?
Bye.
thank you.
So,
And we're gonna do 3,000?
yeah, Sean, I don't think this needs to be a contract. You can't, we just, when the invoice comes in.
Because you're approved to do maintenance.
We're
That's
approved to
what the
do
funds are
maintenance,
for.
okay, so. Yes,
Need to
Kate.
go to the trustees and trust funds.
Oh, yeah.
That's the most-
Yeah.
Everything.
Sure.
Yeah, I actually alerted Tom Watson about a couple of things because their process takes a long time, so I alerted them that we would be having a couple expenditures.
Any funds that come out of the public art trust fund must be approved by them. I'm fully aware.
Okay.
Who's it? The town council?
The trustees of
The
trust.
trustees.
Trustees of trust fund, TOFT.
Yeah. So I think we write something up, you do something with it.
Take it to the controller who puts it on the agenda for the trustees of the trust fund. And then once there's approval, then they allow her to release the funds. We've asked for that.
Yeah.
As an aside, is that the same trustees that handle the J. Smith money?
I think they handle everything, like it's the trustee. I believe all the trusts
That's an
roll
ongoing
up
thing
to
too, the J. Smith garden.
that.
Yeah.
'Cause it's just,
One other item. This is a big departure from this last item is that this committee issued some questions on the Vaughn Wall.
Yes,
And I responded to them. Like I didn't get them for almost three or 4 weeks after you guys issued them to the DPW. And then I issued my response to all those questions, which was pretty easy. And I gave that to the DPW, but I guess that never got,
never received that.
so it's not any fault of mine.
Why don't you just like email them and we.
No,
can-
I think you should talk to the DPW.
there's other
Yeah, it's not,
links in the
I am
thing,
just a
the
player.
process.
Okay,
I'm not,
Yeah.
I'm
Got
just a
it.
player.
And all that stuff has to be approved and
okay,
funded and all the wonderful things.
Yeah.
Must
Alright.
have.
But I feel remiss that you didn't get to see the feedback from your feedback.
Okay.
But it's off on another tangent. The design is anyway.
so because I don't want this to take forever, why don't you at the appropriate time give us an invoice, like around April or so that we can get this rolling.
Oh, you want to invoice before I do the work?
Well, I'm just thinking, do you think they do that just because it takes so long?
That's fine, because I know the scaffolding is gonna be,
Well, so
everything's
it's
gonna
an
be
invoice
purchased
for
immediately.
future work.
Yeah.
But the invoice identifies or
Everything.
validates
Yeah,
supports the request to
Exactly.
release the funds. I'm
Yeah, that's what I think.
happy
should
to
be.
message it that way.
Okay,
And we'll see if that
see if we can get the
breaks any
funds
rules.
released into a checking accounts. Okay,
I think that's logical, because I mean, you have to rent scaffolding and
Yeah.
so you need the
Right.
funds up front
That's-
to
Yeah.
have this work.
And we have time to get over whatever
We- to
speed
do
bumps
whatever it
that
is,
show
yeah.
up. It's still January.
okay.
It is.
So great, thank you.
Oh, great, thanks, Dave.
Yeah.
You take care of the time.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Ernie, do you want to talk about the trustee?
Five.
Yes.
And Jen, also, the two of you.
Well, yeah, so Nancy and I were working on the language for the Public Art Trust to get it up on the website. And Beth, thank you for putting us in touch with Linda Schmidt. She had some really good feedback. So I basically reorganized, took her feedback and she sent me a sample of the Clipper Foundation grant, which was really good. So I took her feedback and reorganized it. And I've sent it to Stephanie, and I think Stephanie was gonna be on the, was.
She is.
She's here.
Call,
Yeah.
but, I'm gonna send it again to this group, just to, if you can look at it one more time. And, then if we can wrap that up, because we wanna get that
We wanna
up
get it
and
up.
going, if we're gonna, if our timeline's gonna work. So I'll send that out
What are
tomorrow.
we specifically looking for in terms of the feedback?
Just take a look at it and kind of try to distance yourself from it. You're somebody who might be interested in, applying for a grant. And take a look, is there something that is it clear? There's something that we're missing? I mean, one thing I wanted to be careful of, we said you could use it to create new art, but I wanted to be really careful that we said it has to be, tied to education for Portsmouth K through 12 students. Because I don't want to get artists to get their hopes up and then send something in that, is just a new piece that doesn't have that. So just want to make sure that's really clear and just make sure that it's easy. As Linda said, we're targeting a lot of teachers and they don't do a lot of grants, so you need to make it as, clear and simple and as possible. So
Yeah, especially because, we'll only be awarding a few awards, so we don't want people to put a lot of time into something that might not, where they might have misinterpreted something or, we don't want to be disappointing lots and lots of people.
yeah, because I know that the artists will look for the opportunity and it's just really has to be clear. And I also, I said, if you have questions, you can, go to the website and fill out a, the email form. It would be nice if we had another way to do that, like a more direct, or a phone number, but I just don't know if that's possible because, you could end up with.
It's probably not appropriate either
Yeah.
as lay people on a committee for us to.
Mhm.
And then, you're answering something for one person and not everybody is seeing it. I mean,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
so I think being formal is probably the best way.
So maybe we do need to have a place for, on the website for, questions.
Where
And-
we answer
Yeah,
questions.
where we answer questions and then everybody can benefit from that.
Yeah, that's how the RFPs work. Questions are
Okay.
public.
Thank you. I know the city has new procurement software. Can we use that for this purpose, this public art trust purpose? Would that be something that where the process they would take it like we did for the RFP for?
They would issue it through that, they would do it through their procurement software. They're doing all their RFPs through that process now.
RFPs with this is this an RFP or it's
Yeah.
not?
Well, that's, yeah, we had called it
grant.
a request for proposal because the Clipper Foundation, that's what they call it when.
We'll have to find that out.
So that's that's an open.
Yeah, that's
question.
a question, because usually the RFP, it doesn't trigger that process until 50,000. So
Oh.
I don't know, I
Okay,
just don't know what their limits are set up in.
Hotline.
Yeah.
Whoops,
Thank you, Stephanie.
Stephanie,
It's in the chat, maybe.
Would that be easier than just
yeah,
doing the form that's on the website, the public art?
That's a hotline Portsmouth. Those come to me and I'd forward it.
oh,
Oh.
well,
Perfect.
that's
Thank
possible.
you,
To
Stephanie.
one of Park, but
Yeah.
it needs to be the same person.
But then what we'd want to do would be to post the answers. We'd want to say, we'll be posting the answers to questions we receive.
I think if you set up a place where on the website where the question comes in, and when the question goes in, it becomes a public question.
Yes,
And then the answer becomes a public answer.
public answer.
And you might get 15 of those from 15 different entities or
Yeah.
people. But they're all, it levels, it keeps the playing field level. That's how the RFP process works.
So the questions would be public?
On
The person doesn't have to say who they
Our-
are.
our website?
Well, Stephanie, can you come off mute and talk to us about what you're thinking? There she is.
Hi. Yeah, I was just about to put in the chat that as questions come in and you provide the answers, because I'm not always going to know what the answer is. So if someone on the committee can be the designated person to answer or share it however you'd like, then I can post all of the questions, all of the answers within the page, because the idea here is once we've got all the language for the application process down, then I can post that as its own page, linked from the park page on the website, and I can just keep adding questions and answers. That's easy.
Can
That's
you
good.
screen the questions before they come in? I just don't know if we get some inappropriate comments.
Well, of
Or-
course, because that's why I'm suggesting that the questions should come to the hotline at portsmouthnh.gov, because then I get those emails and
Okay.
we can, I will immediately share them with whomever you designate. And then you can curate what questions and answers you want to post on the page. And I can respond with your answer to whoever's asked the question directly.
Perfect.
That's great.
Yeah,
I
thank
think
you.
that's perfect. Because remember the questions we got for Spiraling Serenity, some of them really helped. There were some misinterpretations of what we were proposing, and the questions really helped to sharpen, I think.
Right. So just for my clarification, you're gonna make a request for proposal for these dollars,
Grants,
the
yeah.
grants are there. And this group is going to make the decision how that's awarded.
Along with the
Library director.
library director.
Okay, that just to me feels like it should be self-contained here versus going into the procurement process.
Yeah, I get it.
Because that's the city paying for something.
Yeah.
It's different than the
Trust.
Serenity.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the percent.
But what Stephanie is, it's almost like a parallel process.
Yeah,
think
yeah,
that will-
I think that makes sense. That keeps it
Keeps the-
transparent and public without being forced into something it's not gonna be. Okay,
Okay.
thanks, Stephanie.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Sure.
Jen, did you want to say anything about, you've been compiling everything?
No, I've just compiled the list. I sent it to you today. I don't know if we want to share that list with everyone. I figured I better not because I'd have to go through Sean and I thought you might need it for tonight. So, and thanks, Lenny, you got a lot of information to me. But the one I really focused on were just ones that were very focused on email addresses, because I thought that's how you were going with the email.
Yes,
I think-
absolutely.
Well, we'll obviously still advertise it and all that.
Right.
But I think it's the personal email.
But the personal emails. So yes,
Circulate.
and it's Yeah, you probably just have to print it. I probably should have looked at that because it should be not portrait, but should be landscape. Because there's so many different categories.
Also, on that list, that part that I contributed, I don't know what other people contributed, but I did like the individual artists in the big artist communities. I didn't put their individual emails because that's like a whole
Right.
big
Challenge,
challenge.
right.
And I didn't know if you wanted that much detail, but it sounds like you do want the emails.
Well, I think the challenge of that was the fact that a lot of those places don't have emails. They're not an email to any place, like the Button Factory, there's not an
No,
email.
if you email the owner, he will do nothing with it.
Right,
Yeah.
so that's why I didn't put those, because there's no email to be able to do that.
But there's a list of artists, but then you have to go to each website and get their email from the
Don't-
website.
Most of them do not have emails on their websites. Most of them say, contact this person,
Yeah.
and you do a contact of that, but not the website. I tried a few of those and
I have a list of emails from the Button Factory, and then I had Judy Schubert from the Safeway Artist
there were only
Community.
two from Safeway. That
She
had-
sent me more after the fact,
Okay.
but then at that point, I wasn't sure if you even wanted them, so I said, well, I'll save them, but.
I mean, we can certainly put them to it. I think if we have, again, my concern was just, if we're doing it by emails, then I didn't put anybody who didn't have an email on. There's one artist that doesn't have an email.
Then there was, those are just two particular artist communities, two bigger ones from Portsmouth, but then like galleries that have a roster of artists, which may or may not be, this is not restricted to Portsmouth artists, right? The RFP for
No, We
anybody.
haven't restricted it to, I don't think the criteria, didn't we give a preference for Seacoast? Wasn't that a criteria, preference for Seacoast area artists?
Well, they have to be working with Portsmouth
They
Paving
have
as
to work
well.
with it, So
So,
that's sort of.
I don't think we
natural.
need, like with some of the others, we had to, get it to a wider audience. But, this is strictly Portsmouth.
So I looked at Portsmouth and Kittery and then said, but acknowledged there's also like the Seacoast Artists Association.
But in a
Like to
case
get
like
all the
that,
names and emails would be
but
like,
rather than trying to get it to the individuals, they could post it, put it in a newsletter, right?
well, that's what I was waiting to get feedback, like,
Yeah.
how much work should I continue to do on this? Like,
Yeah.
do you want each individual email? Because
I don't
No,
think
because
so.
I don't-
For those, I think as long as you have someone who can send that out, because otherwise it becomes, really cumbersome
Yeah.
and not what you were trying to accomplish with this.
also I was fearful that like giving you the ones that I know or that I've gathered, there's a whole bunch of other artists
Sure.
in different galleries that I don't know their emails or even necessarily
Yeah,
their names,
And
so.
none of galleries had email addresses. So they didn't make this because there's no email address for them. And if they don't have an email address,
Yeah.
then because that's how we were going. Now, I can always go back and do something else with it, but because it was going out email, without an email,
But I mean, I put, like we did before, I put like the
that's great.
IFA, New Hampshire Council, people who will then distribute it to their lists and post it. And I think, that also we will do a press release. We will put something in the city's newsletters. So there'll be multiple touch points.
You could do little postcard size things. We could put at the library, on the bulletin board, and Cafe Killam, a cup of Joe, if we wanted to.
Or just post the press release, yeah.
Yeah.
Nancy, you have a question? No. Okay.
I mean, I think it'd be good if we can get, add to this list, and that's what I said to Jen, more of the Portsmouth art teachers. Cause I could really see, good opportunity for them. So I don't know, I was gonna reach out to Linda and see if she had any suggestions on the best way to do that.
I went to the town's website on the school department and went and got, the school departments, and some listed specifically who the art teachers or the music teachers were, and some didn't. Like the elementary schools were less likely to list them by even their names. So I thought, okay, I'd have to actually call the principal and say, okay, can you tell me explain who I was and what I was doing? And
I think she should, education person should be able.
so I thought, Yeah, but I wanted to get this out to you by a certain deadline, so I didn't get
Yeah.
that far.
Well, thanks. I mean, the lists look great.
You know, because remember, at most, we're gonna be giving maybe three,
Yeah.
2 or 3 grants, so, and this is our pilot also.
It's our what, pilot?
Pilot year.
Yeah.
So I think, Ernie, you asked for all of us, you'll send it out,
Send
we'll
it out, take
review,
another look.
and then,
I'll
I feel-
update this and send it out to you. Send it to Sean to get out.
yeah, and ideally, we would be ready to go then, right?
Mhm.
To get this
Oh,
something.
There's something from.
Yeah. Oh, Anna Nuttall.
Yeah.
She was
She's
the,
our best
I mean,
contact.
Yes,
Name I
emails
have.
are good, but also like share it on Facebook. That's where everybody
Yeah.
looks at stuff. People don't read their emails. There's too many of them.
So city social
Sure.
media.
Share it on your own pages, you know.
So presuming that this gets cleaned up, I assume everybody is okay that we don't have to wait for another meeting before we launch.
Do you want me to call the schools and get, I mean, Anna Nuttall I knew, and I think the high school had theirs, but none of the elementary schools. But you want me to do that?
let me reach out to Linda first, I think,
Yeah.
and see, because she's in the high school
Okay.
and may say, oh, this is the best way to do
Yeah, and
it.
there's an art department head, so they
Yeah.
know.
There's also like performing arts, also like the theater teachers and
Oh, I did
music
the music
teachers.
teachers.
There are.
Yeah.
Music teachers,
Yeah.
yeah.
There's
I added the Portsmouth Symphony Orchestra. They do an education program.
Yeah, I tried to think of as many, like even I thought of, the Gundalo has a children's camp.
Right.
So Seacoast, the Repertory Theater has a theater camp for children. So I tried to think of, but I'm sure there's a lot I didn't think of. That's-
PMAC. That's what
Yeah,
PMAC is
on
on
here.
there.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
all.
PMAC I put on there. which I-
Once you open it up to your network,
Yeah.
people will,
People will-
Yeah.
people will
Yeah.
forward it.
All right, so we'll leave it in your hands to clean
Yeah.
up. And in terms of the actual email out, launching out, you can just do a group email based on your Excel. Anything else on that? It'll be so good to get. Okay, the Sister City gift. We have a slide, we have the next slide for this. And Stephanie might want to weigh in on this too. As many of you know, Portsmouth has a number of sister cities. And apparently, this came to us from the Sister City Committee. Sant'Arcangelo, the Italian city, wants to give Portsmouth a gift, a public art gift. And
Nice.
when you see it, you'll see that there are a lot of questions we're gonna have to ask.
Make it maybe, but-
And Stephanie is a liaison.
What's the name of the city?
Sant'Arcangelo, it's one, it's like Santa Cangelo. Okay, so I know it's hard to see this, but it's about luminarias, and there you can see the city itself, Sant'Arcangelo. And most of the examples, there are a number of examples, most of them are poems or words. If you look in the lower right-hand corner, you see that's like down a street, and strung across the street are the words of a poem or something meaningful. And you can see it up in the top too, where the arrow is, that as you go down the street in lights above the street are words. So that's the idea of author luminaria. So there, not all of them that I looked up were words. Some of them are also images, like neon images, lighted images. And so the mayor, the sister city, wants to give Portsmouth one of these installations.
Do we know what that says?
No, this is where we don't know any of this yet, which is why it's not, we can't really make any recommendations yet, but this is really, the mayor, our mayor is very eager to have it in Vaughn Mall, but
Yes.
I don't think until we know more about it, we can say one way or another.
So are these the words that are being?
No, no, no,
said?
no. These are just examples of what's in the
And
cities.
could we make them any bigger? So that we could
It's gonna
actually
be,
see that.
yeah, it's
And
already.
the image get
not
larger
making it,
Well, the images,
Right.
do you mean? what do
on
you
the
mean?
screen.
Oh, on the screen? See if we can enlarge it. It would be customized for Portsmouth.
Right.
So, but what we have to know is what their intent is. We have to know something about the specifications, whether they're planning to do something that would be an image that would go along a wall, or whether it would be strung over like Vaughn Mall. We know none of that yet.
So,
How permanent would this
Yeah,
be?
it's a-
Like, is it a temporary thing? Is it?
My understanding, if I read the brochure right, is in a number of Italian cities, these are done as temporary. They're like for festivals or for whatever. But I think it could be either way. And I gather if it's a gift to us, it's probably more permanent. And Stephanie tells me that the mayor from that Sant'Arcangelo may be here in February.
February.
This would be a chance to learn more about this. Stephanie, do you want to tell us anything more that you might know?
That's a pretty good summary. This was announced to Mayor McEachern last October, so October 24, when the Mayor Sacchetti was here from Sant'Arcangelo. And he was very effusive in presenting this idea as a major artwork that Sant'Arcangelo is known for. What is not clear at all is whether the final gift to Portsmouth would be an Italian or a poem in Italian, as the one in his city is, or if we have any more influence over what it says, if it might be a Portsmouth author, whatever. Don't know the size, don't know the power demand, don't know the structural details that DPW is going to want to know about. So all of this is the mayor of Sant'Arcangelo
New York.
making a gift to his sister city of Portsmouth, New Hampshire, of this original Italian artwork. And because the sister city committee, which I am a member of, does not have any, have the knowledge and expertise that you all do, it made sense to us to have you involved in the process to decide where, what, how, all that good stuff. But I think if you can generate a couple of the questions that you already have, then the Sister City Committee can present them to the mayor, to present them to the mayor of Sant'Arcangelo when he's here, and try to get some feedback.
So Stephanie, have we accepted this? And now we're just dealing with how we're going to roll it out? Is that what I hear?
Basically, yes, because I don't know how you'd refuse it.
Small, it's an offer we can't refuse.
Got it. I just wanted to be sure that we were all on the same page.
Just like to have a vote in favor of it actually being something in Italian, because otherwise there's absolutely no reason to connect it
Right.
to the sister city. Why have it in English and be, so,
It'd be Italian and English.
no,
Well,
I'm
we-
sorry,
we
that,
can also-
no,
we
it's
can
our
always
sister
do
city
a-
gift.
Right.
Yeah.
That describes
And
it.
it's also not clear to me whether this is multiple strands across whatever street, or if it's one strand. I mean, the one that you have the images of is a progression of lines from a poem. I don't even know whether we're talking one string or six, or however many you need for the poem. So all of that needs to be defined. But the Mayor Sacchetti was very enthusiastic about how well known this artist and this art installation, how well it's known throughout Europe. I mean, he considers this one of the signatures of Sant'Arcangelo, which tells me that we can't exactly say thanks, but no thanks.
I have a question, but also first I want to echo what, or second what Nancy said. I think it should be in Italian. It's from our Italian sister city. We had a statue put up in our old Little
That's right.
Italy. I mean, we have, connection with Italy for a reason. But my question is, what was my question? Oh, yeah, cost. It's a gift, but there will be an installation cost.
I think that's why it's coming
Do we
to us.
know what it
Are you
is?
channeling Peter Rice?
Yes.
And depending where it is, the cost will also be related to that. Yes.
I was going to highlight too that we don't necessarily have ways to hang this without infringing on private property rights, so we will have to negotiate
Yeah.
private property easements anywhere that we're hanging something like this in
Well,
buildings,
yeah.
so hooks essentially.
Though, that's why in some ways Von Mall is ideal for this because, the planning that is already going on there.
Yeah.
But these are all great questions. So, Stephanie, just the questions that have come up, we can email to you. Are there
That would be great.
other questions people have?
Can we send a note to all of us?
Yeah, yeah.
And just think about it a little more.
Can we get the name of the artist as well?
It's yes, I would like that too, because on the brochure that I looked at, the name of the corporate group is Author Luminarias, but I did not see an artist's name.
I also think that we should make sure that it is placed somewhere, if not on Von Mall, somewhere in the old historic North End area.
Right. That was kind of-
Yes, yes, good idea.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, we are sister cities with Sant'Arcangelo because a number of families came from Sant'Arcangelo to Portsmouth. They were the families who were displaced from Little Italy, where the Sheraton is now, during urban renewal. And we have created the families are still, several of them are over in Panaway Manor and very actively involved still in the city and were enthusiastic in embracing the sister city relationship when it was formed in December 2019. So it's all of a piece, that sculpture, the new sculpture, the celebration of Little Italy during our 400th, all of that, we're talking about the same place, same families. What I've heard from Portsmouth people like the Farinis who go to Sant'Arcangelo is you open to be dated, you open a phone book, but you see the same names, Semprini, Farini, all of those names that are here in Portsmouth, you see in Sant'Arcangelo. And they are very supportive of the exchange program with Portsmouth High School. Their students have been here, our students have been there. It's a very active, of all of our 9 sister city relationships. They and Nishinan, Japan are the 2, and Portsmouth, England are the 3 most active of our relationships.
Well, and it fits so well with other thoughts we've had about Von Mall, the city of the open door
Yeah.
concept. So
If it turns out that Von Mall, whatever, we don't get the private property owners to play ball, it also could be a nice entrance to Foundry
Mhm.
garage to light. People say they
Exactly.
don't like
Yeah.
walking to that garage because it's dark. They
Yeah.
perceive that it's dark, even though it's not darker than anywhere else in the city, but there's a perception. So if there was a public art installation leading the way, that might,
yeah.
Yeah,
That
that's
might be
closer to
another-
the Little
Closer to
Italy
the-
area, which makes more sense for the language.
I take a giant step backwards from it. I love the idea. The photos are beautiful. The sister city connection to Little Italy and our history with urban renewal is all wonderful. But I don't quite understand. Like, unless I was asleep at the last meeting, I didn't hear this concept before, and now it's like the gift is accepted. So
Well-
I mean, what happened to our review and going through the
Mayors are mayors.
The mayor's.
Came through the mayor's
Came through
office.
the mayor's
I
office.
see,
That-
okay.
that's
So we don't review it and say, does it meet our criteria?
We will review it, but we don't, there isn't anything yet. It's just a concept.
Okay,
I mean, we don't, it is, I don't think it's even, there's nothing fabricated.
okay.
Yeah.
Because I just thought, we have this whole list of, it's gotta meet certain standards of art and blah, 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 blah.
Well, Yeah.
And I think we will, because we'll be especially interested in maintenance and installation and.
and I believe it was the mayor's idea to bring it to Park when it, so it got to his desk and he referred it to Park. So it
Okay.
did follow the process. It just,
Okay. It's just like, it
it wasn't a request. These things come from everywhere. I don't know if you all have noticed that. They come from everywhere.
sometimes I think, was I sleeping or what?
We have to think about this like all the pieces that are out in the hallway that are donations from sister cities and other mayors that we have on display
Okay.
that no one reviewed. So
Okay.
think of it as a gift, a very nice gift.
Gift category.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think with, placement, location, maintenance, signage, all of those things are things that we need to think about when the time comes.
And we're not gonna have somebody like Terrence checking it every
Every
day, and there are a lot of things that can go
There's a lot of
wrong.
moving parts on that one.
Yeah, but one of the interesting things is it's a different form of public art too. We don't have.
Yeah, no, it's
That's
very
really
cool.
nice.
That
That's
doesn't
the
come out of our
important piece.
budget,
We have
does
to
it?
be thinking about how we reciprocate something like this.
Or stop her.
Okay, election of officers. Ernie and I are interested. I know Nancy, you already volunteered.
Yeah, I'll
And
just
another
continue.
meeting to be
Had a
set.
nice year off. So it's easy, I don't mind.
We know how to do it now, so we can slip in if you need a break.
Yeah.
So that's great. And so I think, let me nominate Nancy. Someone can second.
I'll second that.
Let seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
And so,
Nominate Chris Dwyer, Renee Greenslade as
Second.
co-chairs.
Yeah, sounds
All in
good.
favor?
Aye. That was easy.
if either of us is interested in anyone who would like to step up, but we know that.
Just put anybody
Doesn't
down.
matter, just put anybody.
Yeah.
We're all in the same.
Yeah, I definitely feel like that, but I mean, Chris, I wonder if it's chairperson and vice chair or something like that, because I feel
mean,
like you do most of the.
But we're doing a lot more dividing as we go.
Okay.
Kate, talk to us about terms.
Okay, can I first thank the co-chairs and the secretary for stepping up? It's a lot of work, and your work is really truly appreciated. Terms, when everyone was appointed here, and I don't think, not quite everyone, I think Ernie came in a little bit
Ernie
later.
came later.
I came in later.
And Lenny came in a little bit later, but generally, most people came in around the same time. Ernie and Lenny will have their start date, so I don't need to slot you into terms. But essentially, we need to put people in terms so that we have a regular appointment schedule, because we're now hitting the stage where people need to be reappointed. Because it's a 2 or a 3 year term. And so, and I just want to make sure that we get on a regular schedule of people getting reappointed. So, so I've discussed this with the clerk's office. I went through for the Arts and Cultural Commission and slated people in 2 terms. They're a little bit more complicated because they have people who are limited to 1 term. This committee is not in that situation. So this committee, we can just slate you into random terms if that's okay with everyone. So a certain group will come up for reappointment this year and another group will come up for next year. And then, so it'll be a regular schedule. The only thing that I ask is, I guess, if anybody knows that they can only serve like 1 more year, let me know so we don't put you on the schedule to be reappointed next month for a 3-year term. Like, let me know, so then we'll slot you into, a term that's ending.
So Kate, just to clarify, that would be Nancy, Jen, Mara, Beth, and myself are all coming to the end of our first term. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes, exactly.
And
Exactly.
that, and when does that end? Like in March or?
I think that you guys were all appointed. Oh, I'm not really sure. I mean,
I wanna say it was
it's like March,
March.
around March. I'm not sure the exact date.
But it's around then.
It was around then.
Okay.
We have a little bit of rotation because we've have some people who've rotated in, and now that we have another resignation, that's another one that falls off. And Robin, I believe, came in a little
Robin
later
came
too.
later also.
So we might be in an okay place that I can just put everyone in a 3-year term to be reappointed, unless you specifically let me know that you're not planning to stay another 3 years and you don't want that duration, but you'd be willing to stay for one, then I will change your slate now. This is an opportunity, is
I
essentially,
think we should stagger it anyway, just so that we don't all term out at the same time.
That's what-
Yeah.
that's the goal.
That's what
That's the
she
goal is so I want to hear from anyone who doesn't want a full 3 more years. Cause I'll put you in a 2-year term. If you think you want to stay for 2 more, then I'll put you in a 2-year term. If you only want to stay for 1, we can reappoint you for a 1-year term and make that stagger. So,
And is there a limit on the number of times you can be reappointed or?
I thought when we wrote the ordinance there was, but I went back through it and I didn't see a limit.
Oh,
Initially, I thought it was 2 terms, and I just went through it again and I can't find that reference anywhere. And so I'm kind of like, did we take it out? And maybe we took it out.
There's people who've been on the EDC for decades.
I know. Well, see, and that's what I was going to ask initially is if the ordinance said we're limited to 2 terms, that's another discussion for the committee as well. Do we want to change the ordinance? Because I think the concern initially when we started, and the reason I even had that discussion with the legal department was that we'd have too many people wanting to be on it. We didn't want people to hold spots for too long and we wanted
sure.
some rotation. But I don't think that we're experiencing that.
What makes you say that?
I know, it's very interesting to me because even committees that I serve on that have a lot of people want to serve on, we still are seeing a decline in participation across the board in city government. So we're not really having that issue.
So,
There's no grounds.
all right, so anybody should let you know if they don't want a full 3-year term, but it sounds from what you said, we're starting to get some natural staggering.
Yes, we are. And so if everybody's comfortable with that, I will sit down with the clerk and we will just put people's
Just look at-
terms and have those nominations come up.
Do you want responses now, or do you want us to email you?
Yeah,
I'm
either-
in.
Okay, either way, like you can tell me if you're, if for some reason if you don't feel comfortable doing that, email me.
And that's good.
It would also, and we talked earlier about, encouraging people to step up who we could think of, but it would be nice to have more diversity, maybe someone from the LGBTQ community, maybe someone from the, who represents people of color or indigenous people. I mean, we're all kind of,
Is there a limit
Similar.
to the number of people?
Yes.
It's between 7 and 11
Yeah.
members.
So that's quite broad.
Yeah, so we're in a situation right now, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
We're down 2.
We have 8, currently, and we have a person who just applied, that gets us to 9. You can have 2 more regular members and then you have Sean and I.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I think we'd love to be full if we
Yeah.
could, because there's plenty to do.
Oh, yeah.
Plenty to do.
and so if you get 2 more too, this year, then that will also help with the stagger because you'll have already naturally occurring. But I need to be really careful because you don't want all of them coming in right at the end of a 3-year term. And then we've got everybody on the same term. That would be challenging. So whoever comes in, I'll probably slate them into terms.
And if you don't have a limit, you can stay as long as you like.
As far as I can tell,
Reapply.
I've been through the ordinance now 3 times again, and I just can't find it where we limited it. And I thought we limited it to 2 terms, but.
Well, according to Bob Thorson, there was a woman on the Conservation Commission who basically is the reason Portsmouth looks as beautiful as it does today with regard to trees for 30 years. So buckle up.
you're getting long in the tooth there, Nancy. Yeah, we're not gonna be around that long.
So one of our duties, as you remember from last year, is the annual report. And I've gotten some edits, good edits from Beth. If anybody else has edits, or things that you, especially that you remember that we did that aren't here. As we did last year, the future capital projects and the advancing economic development are two requirements that we report on. And for future capital, we have the Mechanic Street Pump Station, refurbishment of playgrounds, even though they didn't ask us. The future new garage that people are talking about. A CTE facility, which will be much in the future, but new that is added is the Market Square Master Plan. And I don't know if anybody has thought of any other capital projects that we think would benefit by
It's a new garage.
input into design.
Garage is there.
New garage.
We don't know where the new garage is going yet. Just know that there's something coming.
I don't know if this is big enough.
So Deer
Maybe
Street.
not, but,
Because
couple-
of all the
People in the community have come to me and asked about
And the downtown work.
paintings on those Eversource,
Some-
container,
Yeah,
I
transformers.
don't think that's big enough for
Well,
capital, but,
parking data.
it's strange, two different people just said
Well,
something.
that-
Oh, yeah.
That's not a city,
Parents is
that's not a
part
city
of it.
expense
He's
either.
Trying
Yeah.
to do, he was trying to do it as part of the 400.
Ah,
I think the issue was with
Eversource.
Eversource.
Yeah, we don't own.
We don't
those.
own them.
Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't know.
So- he worked
Bring it
really
up
hard
again, or-
on.
Yeah,
where we could put though, in the second one, advancing economic development, where we're just saying places where we think bringing greater interest or creating identification or aesthetics, we can add those transformers. We know in other parts of the country,
yeah.
public services.
And we do own some. Some of those boxes are city boxes to operate some of the lights and things around the city.
Oh, for traffic lights.
Traffic light
Oh.
boxes. So,
Oh, and the one by Leary Field, I bet.
yeah, some of them are
Electrical
traffic light
boxes.
boxes. So
Yeah, we can.
I just know this because I see our traffic engineer opening it and adjusting the light. So I'm like, that's our box.
Yeah.
We can paint that. Every time I see him doing it.
And so we have for additional places, obviously more in Bohanko Gateway Park, the skate park and the rail trail. Langdon Park, across from City Hall, Sherburne, housing development, entrance to Commerce Way and the Urban Forestry Center.
And got to think of a specific name of a place, but on kind of communities that are underserved that are maybe public housing
Yeah,
or
we can add more public housing.
Crossroads House or
What are we on 9?
places where people aren't gonna say, oh, you know, that's a beautiful historic place. We're gonna put some smashing art there, but a place where people like really would need art, but not be able to afford
Yeah.
something.
The entryway to the Foundry Garage, we were just talking about for the light installation, maybe, or do you already have that?
No, I don't have that.
The other thing, Chris, for the capital one, and I'm not sure this would get the capital, but if we think about trying to roll out the plaque program and the plaques to more art, I don't know, because I know we got a lot of them for free, which is great. Thank you very much, Stephanie.
Yeah.
But other ones may not be, but I'm not sure that would be a capital one, depending upon how many we do.
Well, I would put it with the advancing economic development by standardizing and improving our signage. Because as we've all learned, the Cabot Lyfords aren't
Yes.
signed, for example. So identifying more pieces, I think would be good.
We need to include New Franklin School on the capital projects.
Oh,
Because
yes.
that's been in the CIP for 12 million.
Sure.
And municipal buildings complex,
Oh, yes.
which will happen at some point. I don't know what the budget will be, but it'll be more than 5 million, whatever it is. And I don't know how much will be done, but it'll be more than 5 million. So.
Others? I mean, those are all great ideas. Okay, so I will clean this up and we'll present it to the council for the, not this meeting is, you've got a
It
meeting,
was a 2-2 meeting.
it's happening right away. The next meeting,
17th.
17th.
So the deadline for submission would be the 10th or 11th, the 10th for Sean.
It's an editing thing.
Okay.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah, Beth has made a lot of edits, which are good. So I think with the time that we have left, we do have some great photos of garages. Maybe that's what we'll begin next time with. But goals for 2026, things that, you know, we definitely want to accomplish. I know so much comes to us that we have to process that's not really within our control.
I would say focusing on the things that we have money for, like the garage and the Portsmouth Middle School.
Well, we can do, you want to do a little garage look?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that just one? That's just one side.
This is one slide and it's a garage where during the day it looks like that, you see on the left.
Mhm.
And at night, depending on the lights that are shown on it, it comes up with different patterns.
Where
And-
is that?
I can't, I did these so long ago now, I can't remember, but what appeals to me about that is it's kind of like our bridge.
Yeah.
Oops,
I think there's only one slide on there.
no.
Oh,
There are about 20 slides across all
oh,
of them.
good. But you're right. Okay, let's see.
That's the first one.
Okay.
Ooh, there's another, whoops.
Oh, my goodness.
Another one that's illumination. Now, we have to think about location and all that. This is one where it's motion,
Mhm.
you know,
Very cool.
you like the waving greens.
Oh,
That was cool.
The Kansas City Public
That's
Library.
the, that's attached, that's Kansas City, I think.
Yeah, Public
Yeah,
Library.
isn't that cool? And this I thought was interesting because we have some things that are, remember we kind of had poetry that was part of the poetry project, but it was just black and white text. It wasn't designed, but I think that's kind of cool. Oh, I love that. It's a completely different idea.
Just get some ideas, yeah. Hey, what's the
That is amazing.
guy scale?
There's a,
Yes.
some more,
Yes,
yeah, there's
that
two more slideshows.
That drives me crazy.
We had to break these up because they can't go through the mail, through the email. So just to think about really the other than interior roof, it's that long side along Hanover and then that short side that you see from Market Street, that great big brick wall. Those are, and the interior are probably our best locations. There's that large, you can see almost ribbons that provide us some opportunity. I think this is one, Beth, that you,
Yeah, the kinetic movement one.
because that one moves as well.
Yeah, I like the movement. That one I gave, yeah.
Yeah, oh, and that's metal that moves.
Looks like those things where you put your impression.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right at near Logan.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is, those are toy cars.
Ah.
It's 30,000 toy car.
Matchbooks, yeah. Oh my God.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that guy, those cars that park downtown, a giant one of those.
There's one more. This is Ernie from your,
Oh, from Sarasota.
yeah, they're beautiful.
This,
Oh, those are gorgeous.
This is in Sarasota, they have each level, it's a celebration of the arts. And I think this was opera, because they have an opera house there,
Yeah. isn't
opera
that
house.
gorgeous?
Yeah, these
These
are
really
cool.
were. I mean, these are just quick photos I took with my camera, but
Maybe each floor could be a sister city.
Yeah.
Yep,
Oh, that's
cool idea.
nice, interesting.
this was very reasonable too, because they're murals.
Yeah.
Right, living thing that,
And they're protected.
and they're
Yeah, because they're
protected.
inside.
Right, right,
Yeah, those are just, my quick photos, but
yeah,
they're beautiful.
so
And it's
just,
a fun way to remember what level you're on.
Yes.
well, it has.
Well, they have
no
that at the
purpose.
MFA, they have a
Yeah.
different artist on each.
So just to get us thinking about, because I think one thing we could do would be to, as a committee, say, we're looking for something for the inside, or we're looking for something that would move, or we're looking for whatever. So we can bound it a little bit so that we're not, yeah. Because 68,000.
That teeter totter though, up above was unbelievable.
I could picture it.
Something for the roof. I mean, that's a possibility. Or we could give, we'd either like something for the roof or we'd like something for the interior. We could give options.
Nancy, didn't at one point you say something about recreating the beloved
The
whale?
whale,
the whale
but could do it vertical
Yeah,
on that
wall-
that
oh,
big
she would-
expanse.
That's interesting.
Because when the whale, people thought the whale was on public property and were mad at the
Yes.
city
Right.
because we weren't taking care of it. Well, that's a city building, the city can take care of it.
And maybe even combined with the first one you showed where it looked one way during the
Yeah.
day. Looked different way.
And the whale came out at night.
Graphic.
It could be a skeleton at night. Skeleton
There's
of a
Vito.
whale.
And then the bones come
Vito
off
wins
the
and
bones,
swims.
then the muscles.
Exactly. Dig.
So interesting to do a little work and find out like how much some of these installations cost.
Yeah.
The
Because
metal
knowing that
kinetic
we have
ones are
60,
really
yeah, the
expensive.
kinetic
The ones
ones
are really
might be.
And remember, lighting is an ongoing kind of thing, but
So Miami has amazing garages.
Yes.
They're all private. I mean, they're not municipal garages.
Right.
With the cars.
Yeah.
That was so.
so
Sell our garages to someone who wants to.
So let's make sure in February, people come with ideas for how we want to start shaping an RFP. Remember, we did ask a question on the flash vote about the garage. And people's preferences for where they thought art might go on the garage. So I hope by then we will have some information.
In the lower parking lot, right outside this building, is there still that chimney? The chimney's gone, right? Yeah, I thought it was gone, that's to say.
Did Stephanie give us another comment?
Oh, yeah, when
Rob.
Thank you, Robin.
Thanks, Robin.
thanks, Robin.
Gotta check in. Good.
Can I,
There's another.
one,
Yeah,
announcement?
yeah.
The Chamber of Commerce is, putting together a new program called Here and There. It is a musical weekend.
Oh, when is it?
I saw
Glad you
that.
asked. It's 35 days, 18 hours and it's counting
Yeah.
down. It's March 5th through 8th.
Oh.
It is a way to jumpstart the tourist season.
Great.
And so they're coordinating with all of the music venues and there'll be some additional promotional efforts, but Here and There is what it's called, a weekend of music on the seacoast. Please don't call it a festival. It's a weekend of music. Festivals have a different connotation, logistics, things of that nature. So,
They're corporate now. They're
yeah,
not, yeah,
and so the chamber is really about just promoting and coordinating, so they do very
what we
well.
already do.
And the venues are getting excited about it, so I wanted to share it with this group.
Great.
Music is a big part of our
Right.
world here.
But I really will be on Zoom for February and March. I was supposed to be there now. I'm not. I don't want to talk about it. We'll be on Zoom to do those minutes, so you'll have to make sure you speak up.
Okay.
And I'll be on
Sounds
Zoom
much
too,
better now.
every March.
Okay. So.
I hear
goal is
calls.
to get you stuff so we can launch.
Yes, I'll send that out.
But
Yeah.
all set, I think.
And
Great.
recording.
We need a motion to adjourn.
To adjourn.
Second.
Jen, you are the queen of seconds.
I am the queen of nuts.
All right.